Okay. So we'll pretend like I'm talking to people and say, hi, this is Stephanie, and we're here with Devon today. I'm so excited to talk to Devon about her work. I love Devon. She's one of my favorite people in the world. So I'm just really excited to get everybody else to know how amazing Devon is. So I'm gonna start, I keep telling you it's zero pressure, but I'm gonna start by putting you on the spot
Cool.
and just
Seems
say,
good.
give us a little, the 100-foot overview of who Devon is and what she does.
Yeah, so I'm a lot of things. I think as a lot of people who are in Creative Nexus are, I feel like that's really relatable that, I have a lot of hats. I've got the mom hat, I've got, being an artist, being a business owner, which is like an entirely different thing. I'm just making art, of course. And then the other stuff like friend, wife, daughter, like, all of that. But I think my work is most influenced by right now being a mom and finding what like corner I fit in. Like where who am I? That is always a good question. And I was thinking about that just today while I drove back from the grocery store. So yeah, it fits right in. Thinking like who like where do I fit? And I feel like I'm most myself when I can grab these little moments of time. I can do my colored pencil work. And so I mostly am a colored pencil artist. I dabble with some mixed media as well. I add a lot of ink and watercolor pencil and occasionally some watercolor to my work. And I'm really influenced by growing up and living still in Colorado. The mountains right there and the weather and all of that. My work tends to be whimsical and nature inspired. It's often kind of funny, which is at least I think is funny. I have an odd sense of humor, I think, and so I like to try and make myself laugh when I'm working because in the end, like you can only please yourself. Like you have no idea if any of this is gonna land. So like
Exactly.
I really try to remember like if I laugh, like, hey, that's a winner. Like that's definitely something that's good to keep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, just fitting everything together. I work almost exclusively when my child is asleep. I've got a 2-year-old, which is why I'm doing this interview now because my child is at least contained, if not quite asleep.
That's right. We put her in the
So
pen.
yeah,
She's good.
yeah, that's me.
Well, thank you for that because I really hate trying to introduce people because I'm like, oh, I never know what to focus on because,
Right? Me neither.
how I see you isn't always the same as how you see yourself, which,
Sure.
doesn't negate anything. But, like as a friend, where I where I put the emphasis is not necessarily where you do. So, yeah. So thank you for that.
Of course.
So I love the fact that, you talk about just doing it for yourself and like, because you never know what other people are going to like. And I know every time I look at something, they're like, oh, Pantone's color is that how you say it? Pantone? I hope so.
Hmm.
Um,
It is now.
yeah, it's official. But their color is this year. And so you should do things in this or that complement that. And I'm like,
Someone
I
just
don't
made that up. That's fine. Like,
yeah. I
it's all
just
made up.
yeah. Just do what you love. Like,
Although
yeah,
their mocha swirl or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I'm into that. I love that. I painted my bedroom that color once when I was in high school.
yeah. I have to say, I think this year was the first year that I was like, oh, I can get behind that color. Like, usually I'm like,
I love color so much. I actually look forward to it because color is one of those things that really like motivates me. I think that's why I like colored pencil because it's also saturated. It's
mhm,
all pre-mixed, so I don't have to mix it myself. I hate mixing paint. So like
yeah,
there's all pre-mixed. I can layer them, and the colors are so saturated. And so like thinking about the Pantone thing, I almost don't care what they choose because they have so many colors that I love whatever it's going to be. Because I love color. It's a huge part of who I am. Like I'm currently I mean, you can't see this, but I'm wearing bright orange pants and I've got like a whole bunch of color in my shirt and like I love color.
yeah.
I
That's,
feel very much like
I
that's
that
me.
makes so much sense because I'm definitely not a color person. Like, I'm a neutrals person, unless of course it's these colors. These are
Which I
the
love those colors. Those are your
yeah,
colors.
those are the only colors that I believe in are neutrals that go with these colors. But so when you say you find inspiration from colors, is this like how does that work? Is it just like, oh, I saw this color and it made me think of, kind of sent me down that rabbit hole of an idea?
Sometimes. A lot of it is because it is so my work is so nature inspired from living here, a lot of it because it can get outside. I can get outside even in January. I can have warm days and I can take a walk. But it's the colors in the landscape a lot of times. Like winter is one of my favorite times here in Colorado. Not because I love the snow, because I mean I like it fine. I'm not like a skier or anything. But on the days when it gets warm and it melts, and you can look at all the grass and look at the colors, like it's purple and it's red and it's like it's brown, but it's not just brown. It's like a golden brown, like a burnt ochre brown, like all of these. And so all these colors layer just in the landscape. And so that's when I say I get inspired of like, wow, can I layer something kind of like nature would, And so I'm looking at the layers that are already presented to me. Or let's say in September, the sagebrush on here blooms, which I'm terribly allergic to, unfortunately, but it has these lovely little golden flowers
It's
that
awfully
make me
pretty.
sneeze. Oh, but they're a fabulous color, and it's so pretty to have that color, which is kind of goes from a canary to kind of like a golden color to like a brown as the blossoms. It's like a cluster of blossoms as they fade, but it's up against this like mint kind of mint sage color plant. And so I love that those pairings are already existing. And so that's when I say that I'm so nature inspired, even if my work isn't a picture of sagebrush, which I have done that too.
Mhm.
Um, I can think about how I can use those colors in a different palette. I can grab those things and I know those colors go together because like they grew on the same plant. So I can grab like a mint and a gray and three shades of yellow and like that's gonna go well together. So I love that I can layer, and that also goes back to Pantone. They have all of those colors, and so it's just so fun to like flip through the deck and be like, I never thought about this pairing or this shade or whatever. So I love it.
That's so cool. Like, because it's completely different than how like, as two people who are inspired by nature, like, that is so completely not how my inspiration works. Because I am not the person who's sitting there going, oh, look at all these different colors in this. I'm like, oh, look, it's a pretty yellow flower. That's
And what can it teach us? Like you bring in like what can that flower teach us? And I think that's really important too. And I think I have some of that, but I'm usually looking truly at color and shape, actually the way that the colors lay together. What part of the plant can you see? What can you not see? How does that shadow change the yellow or change whatever color we're looking at?
yeah. Oh, I love that. Like, um, and this is, my friend Kat always says, she's like, if it occurs in nature, it can't be wrong.
Right. If it grows
Like,
together, it goes together. It's like in cooking.
yes. Like I love that idea of like, oh, well, it's all on the same plant. So we're good.
Hmm.
Like
Or even in the
that's
same landscape,
yeah.
like up against like the different winter grasses that are kind of purpley up against something that's like a tawny yellow. Like, it's so pretty. And it's not
Hmm.
always what I would choose if I'm picking from like a pencil like color,
Right.
but it goes right there.
Yeah. And it's like a completely different kind of color theory. Like
Hmm.
instead of worrying about like, oh, is it a cool color or a red color, a red color? A cool color, a warm color. My brain is totally here today. Or like, oh, this is complementary. This is, oh, I can never remember what the other ones are called. I'm not good at
See, I
that.
mean, neither. I never went to art school. I think this is
Yeah.
partly why I do this sort of personal and nature inspired color theory. I don't have the rules. I have like my schooling. I mean, I have a college degree, but it's not at all in art.
Right.
And and so it's my last art class like really was for color pencil was in high school. And then I
Mhm.
took some ceramics class for fun, in theory. It was not fun, but I did meet one of my best friends in the class, so that works out. Um, in college, and I took a drawing class after college, just a community drawing class, which was not a good fit for me at all. It pushed me away from art, actually. It was not good. Um, but I don't have all the color theory basics, top of mind. So I just sort of make
Right.
things.
And I think to me, as another person who is did not go to art school, like my last, aside from my most recent intro to acrylics class, at our community art center,
Which is
like,
so cool.
and it was so great, but like such a wonderful experience. But yeah, before that, my last art class was in middle school.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so like, she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I kind of love it that way because you end up existing outside of the rules and like
Yes.
that this is
Yes.
how we do it. Well, this is a complementary color, so you should do because like I don't like all complementary colors together.
Right. Do you
Like,
like blue buffaloes?
yes, I do. I do. But like I don't like red and green together. I think they look horrible together. But they're complementary colors. But I'm like, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
awful. Unless it's occurring like in nature and you're like, oh, that's a very pretty.
But it's not like a garish, if it's occurring in
Right.
nature, it's probably like a purpley red or like and
Exactly.
that's where I come back to like just being
Exactly.
observant. I think that's the thing that we're all artists. And I think I've said this before in other contexts, but like I truly believe that the best thing you can bring to an art practice is just paying attention. Even if you can't bring paint or a pencil or whatever with you, like you can practice an artist's mind
Exactly.
regardless of where at the post office, you can practice the artist's mind staying in line at the post office to look at where shapes line up and how people are
Exactly.
standing, what they're wearing. And, I think that it's all art. We just have to embrace it.
Absolutely. Like, and that's always my you may have noticed this from me when I tell you to just take a break and stop getting mad at yourself for not doing things. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're still having studio time if you're spending an hour drinking your tea. Sorry, coffee. You drink coffee. If you're
I like
drinking,
tea as well.
okay. It's like, for me, it's tea. But,
Of
just
course.
looking out the window and
Yeah.
looking, like you said, looking at the colors, looking at how the shapes line up. And like for me, it'd be looking at how things move together. Like, look at how this thing that moves this way, what it looks like when it's stationary, like that has
Hmm.
that like potential energy in it and
Yeah.
hasn't started moving yet, but it will be able to.
Yeah.
Like those are such important things, being able to see and
Yes.
and understand what we're seeing and be
Yeah.
fascinated by what we're seeing. Like,
Yeah. I think it's so easy to get so caught up. And I fall victim to this all the time, like all the time, to get so caught up in getting there wherever there is, or finishing something so you can start something else
right.
that, you forget to just stop. Like I forget all the time. Like this week, for example, I'm just trying to pull Christmas together. And it's hard to be like, yeah, let's look out the window. It is an absolutely gorgeous day. And like, here's what my, front yard looks like or whatever. But yesterday I got to walk to my haircut appointment. So I got my hairstylist lives in my neighborhood. Her salon is just down the street. And so like, and I was able to take that time to like look at the way the tops of the trees light up with the sky and all that. And I think it's important to take it when we can and to try and give ourselves grace in the times that we don't, which is I'm
Absolutely.
bad at that too.
No, no.
Give myself grace. It's hard. Like I really am always trying to reset and be like, it's fine. We're just rolling with it. It's all fine.
Yeah. That's a long process learning to rewire your brain on that because we've been told like your output is what's important. Your output's what's
Yep.
important, but that's not the case and it
And
takes
I
a
fall into that trap all the time, even though I know better. But I
Mhm.
still and I don't always catch myself, and then I'll feel like I'm getting down about sales or because I mean I would still like for people to own my art, like it's I don't know what that balance is yet, but like yes, I want to create because it's part of who I am. I would also like for people to enjoy it, to
Yeah,
own it.
right.
So it's hard. I mean, I'll have to take steps back and be like, look, I mean, it doesn't matter. Just keep going.
Yeah, there's the like I struggle with that a lot because my goal with all my art is communication.
Hmm.
Like I'm trying
Yeah. How
to
do you put a price on
communicate an
that?
idea. So I'm like, if people don't if they're not interacting with it, then well, I failed, but that's not necessarily, I mean, my failure is probably just in marketing because I'm not good at that. Uh, and I put very little effort into it because I don't like to do it. But yeah, it's hard to kind of find that balance between I'm doing this for myself, but also I acknowledge that art in isolation is is missing out on a fair amount. Like there,
Yeah,
you end up missing out on the human connection, which is to
right.
me what's so amazing about art is that you can you can oh so I don't know. Like you can touch people in different ways. Like you
Exactly. Yeah.
like the
And I
image.
think that a lot of it too is just imagery. Like I've realized in the past few years more concretely, I guess, that I think mostly in images and metaphors. Words as well. Like I do have an internal monologue. I'm not one of those people who has like a silent brain. My brain should be more silent than it is sometimes. Like pipe down in it. But like I think in a lot of like analogies and metaphors and like I had some tough stuff happen last week. I lost my elderly dog and stuff like that. And so I did a sketchbook piece about grief because that's exactly I felt like it's a bag of bricks that someone's like thrown onto your chest that's burst open. You have to catch all of this and you have to hold it, and it's just like right here. It's so personal. And so I drew this because I had this concrete image in my brain of like this is how I'm feeling, and I'm trying to work through the grief of losing my dog, and drawing it out is something that I do a lot, and that's something I go to therapy for anxiety, as I think a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Pro therapy, yes. My therapist is like,
Absolutely.
like it's really encouraging me to draw those things, and I'll say, oh, I feel like insert analogy here. She's like, can you draw that? Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So communicating that way too, and even if it's just like a sort of a personal diary, I don't often share the images, but I did share that one on social media, and then those things can connect with other people who are like, "That's how I was feeling too when whatever happened," and like that's I connect with that. Um, I made that while I was at my in-laws' house, and the next day there was a death in the family, and I showed my mother-in-law like I drew this, and she just started crying, give me a hug because
Yeah.
that's how she felt too.
There's so much power. I mean, that's the naming it, name the feeling. And like
Yes.
sometimes you can't, sometimes there aren't words. And like that to me, or you don't have the words, but that to me is
Right.
that's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of
That connection.
poetry and music and everything is like when we can't find the words ourselves, sometimes somebody else has said them or drawn them or whatever, and you can go that
Yeah. Yeah,
that
me too. I did that, you can just say like the solidarity. Yes, me as well. I'm there with you. And I think that people, especially with a loss, don't they want to show support. They don't know what to say, of course. Like, what do you say when someone has some sort of a problem or has a death in the family? We're like, what do you say? And
yeah,
I think that's also where the art really comes together when someone can just say, "Yep, I see that," and like that's all you need. I feel that. I understand. I'm there with you. I help carry the bricks where I can. Like I think that's
exactly.
that's the community part of art, or of writing or poetry or whatever. However someone
Yeah,
expresses that inner voice, those inner feelings, because it's a
yeah,
universal experience.
exactly. And every time we see somebody else who can put those, can demonstrate those experiences, like you said, the Me Too, like it validates
Yeah.
your experience. Like, okay, I'm not alone. Like just that
Right.
reminder of, I might feel alone, and there's well and truly nothing anybody can do to fix this.
Right.
Like you cannot make it go away. You can't make it better, but I can at least not be alone
Right.
in it. It's like
Yep.
being lost in a group versus being lost by yourself. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it is still tough, but I think that is really the wonderful thing about art. It gives you that outlet, it gives you that connection that allows you to put on paper things that you don't know how to describe.
yeah,
And I think that's, some of my most powerful pieces to myself is a lot of those sketchbook doodles where I'm like, I feel like this, and I can just draw it, and I'm like, I don't know how to describe it, but like this is how I feel.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to ask because
Yes.
I have thought about the like from the art therapy standpoint before, like trying to work through things through art. I struggle because I instead of following the process and enjoying the process, I start going, oh, that doesn't look like how I wanted it to look. And this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And, I end up, that whole logical brain versus, creative brain where like I know it doesn't matter,
Right.
but I can't let it go. And so a lot of times it ends up making me feel worse.
That's how I feel about journaling. I
Okay.
can't journal. I can't like write. I don't like it because then I'm like, that's not what I wanted to say. It didn't come out right. And like no one will ever see it. But there's something different. I think because I will see the image in my mind. And I just like all I have to do is just let it out, sort of. It's like it's already there. And I think that's and it's also something I'm not showing people usually, unless it's
Right.
like the grief with bricks, then it's fine. But like my sketchbook has a lot of stuff that's just my own musings in it as well. And so I just kind of let it be what it is. And if it didn't turn out the way I wanted, there's usually a lesson in that too of like, why didn't it turn out the way I wanted? And well, maybe I don't actually feel quite as strongly about that as I felt at the time, or something like that. And so I can kind of work through it that way as well. But I do have the same issue as you with journaling with words because it just doesn't come out right. Yeah.
Right. It's like, ugh. But this is interesting because like I had forgotten that you see what you're doing, like that you wait until it marinates in your head
Yeah.
long enough and you're like, ah, I have the image and now I just go create the image. And
Yep.
I don't know what I'm making until
Right.
it's done. Like,
Yeah. It's like opposite ends of the creative spectrum somehow, which is interesting.
yes. So, but then the flip side is when I'm writing, I often do have a goal, like a more like clear idea of what's going on. Now, every now and then, it does a 180 and
Yeah.
I'm writing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I started ranting and now I'm not talking about the same thing. 'Cause
Right.
I didn't stay focused. But like that's such an interesting thought though, because I feel better when I'm writing to process things. But
That's interesting.
yeah, I wonder
Because I've
how.
never been a journaler and I've tried and yeah, it just doesn't it never feels authentic somehow to me,
Yeah,
which is interesting because it's my own words, but it doesn't feel like
right.
authentic me. And then I'm always kind of like tripping over it and like that's not right. So I think it's just there's so many ways to process
Yeah,
life.
yeah, definitely. And I think for writing, I have to I don't write anything for other people. Like none of my formal writing, I don't know what we want to call it. Like when I'm writing anything like that, I don't do it by hand.
Mm,
I always do it on the computer
that's
because
interesting.
mostly because my hand can't keep up with my brain, but my
Oh
typing
yeah.
it has a better chance of keeping up with my brain. Um, so then when if I'm doing any kind of journaling, I do it by hand. And I wonder if there's like it's forced to slow down.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah, it forces you to slow down and be present and address your thoughts. But see, I when I would journal, I would do it by hand as well.
Hmm.
And it just doesn't work. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that's like I always enjoy how like 90% of the time we are like you said, opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like these are totally different ways to do the same thing. But
But I learned so much from you because it's like, oh, I never thought about approaching it like that.
I mean, like, yeah, because I always thought, I'm slowing down my brain enough, and I know I am because I forget what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're in flow.
I finished the sentence and then I'm like, I don't remember what, and I feel better because like I think my rant runs itself out while I'm trying to spit it out with my pen, and then
Yeah.
like I've exhaled by the time I get to the end and I can't remember.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, see, like when I'm drawing something to process, it's like I'm so totally in flow with it that
Mhm.
which is my ideal state. I love being in flow. This is my,
Yeah,
like, I feel like I've set my life of it such that I'm in flow as much as possible, which is always my
good.
goal. I love it. But like, when I'm drawing something like that, or really anything, I'm just so completely like in the process of doing it that it's like I am the drawing, regardless of what I'm working on. If I'm doing it well for me, like then that's part of it. Is like I am the drawing, and then it's like I step out of it. It's like I remove myself from the work, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, good morning world. Like it's like waking up. I'll be groggy after it. I'll feel like I just took a nap because it's like I was asleep, or I'm like don't know where I am, and I'm like finishing something. Like yeah,
Wow.
that's my ideal level of flow, is just completely in with the work.
That's amazing. Like
I love it.
sometimes I wonder if I ever actually achieve flow
Oh, I'm
or
sure
if
you do.
I just, well, I'm like, it's either that or I lose track of time because time blindness is kind of an issue already. Um, but like, I'll be the person who's sitting there and I'm consumed. Like, I kind of feel like that's the difference. Like, I never actually like detach and
Oh,
just,
interesting.
but I'm like consumed by it. Like every single thought is
Oh,
a
that's not.
practice.
I'm not thinking when I'm working.
Wow. I think the whole time.
Oh, I just see this is I listen to a podcast. So I guess this is part of my process when I'm working, thinking about just kind of my color pencil work, um, separate from kind of the journaling stuff. But when I'm just
Mhm.
doing my own work with like I'm working on a sticker design or I'm working on a finished piece or whatever, um, usually when I've planned everything out and I've done like an ink outline or kind of have it all set on my paper, and I've chosen my color palette, then I'll put a podcast on and I'll listen to that and I'm completely tuned in with that and my hands are just working and I just let it all work. So I'm listening, like I'm thinking about other things, because if I think completely on what I'm making, usually I talk myself out of the right choices, because usually I'm like, well, is that really the right color? Maybe I should really go with more of like a brighter. Maybe I should, but if I don't do that, if I can like listen to something, and I'm like listening
Yeah.
to like a psychology podcast or like ologies, which is a wonderful one, and they're
Yeah.
long, so I can listen for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
To an
Sure.
episode while my child sleeps upstairs, and I've got the monitors, like I know she's fine, and I've got my work, and then I can just reach for the pencils, and then it's like it's sort of I feel like I'm being played by a symphony or something, where I'm just like grabbing my stuff and just like drawing and listening to my podcast. And that's when my husband, if he comes upstairs, because he works downstairs in the basement, if he comes upstairs, I'll be like, ah!
Yeah.
Because I'm
Yeah.
completely in
Consumed.
flow, unaware of anything. But I'm never completely like time blind, because I don't have like ADHD or anything like that, and so I
Mhm.
don't usually struggle with time blindness. I struggle with being overscheduled because I've got a 2-year-old, so then I forget stuff. But it's not really the same thing. Um, but usually I'm aware of how long I have, and so that's partly why I've taught myself to drop into flow, because that's my ideal state. I know the conditions, I set them up, I drop in, and then it's like I get meditation for an hour and a half or something like that. So, and then I'll snap back out and oh, time to go get the kiddo.
Wow. Like I always feel like th- so this is interesting because I've always been like, yes, it's very meditative for me when I work on my art because like I don't think about anything else. Like I'm literally consumed. Every single
That's so
thought in my
interesting.
brain is about like which color do I want? What do I want that line to look like? But it is
Wow.
all deliberate. It's
Oh,
not,
wow. No, I don't have any of well, I have a little bit, like, I think about, what color's next or what like, I
yeah,
do think about that, but I don't it's not consuming. It's not I don't feel like I'm making choices. I feel like it's just I'm just creating.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, no, I'm making I wonder too, like because again, we have such different processes.
Yeah.
Because you've already made decisions.
Yeah, it's all in my brain. I've seen
Yeah.
the image that I want it to be
Yeah.
done as, I guess.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder, like
Yeah, I
not
almost think of like for you, it's like you're carving it out of stone almost, you're like
huh?
uncovering it as you go. And like I feel like I'm almost painting from a picture, except the picture's in my head. So it actually does feel like exact opposite ways
Yeah.
of approaching something, which is super interesting. And I really hope that whoever watches this later chimes in with whatever they do because I would love to hear.
Right? Like, what other options are there? Because
Yes.
it's one of those things like you don't know that other people aren't doing this too. You just, you assume that what you're doing is pretty similar to how everybody else is doing it. And then it's like,
Yeah.
wait, you're doing what? Like,
Yeah.
you
Well, then there's
already
a whole
know?
yeah, exactly. Well, there's a whole other class of people who like they don't see images at all or have any internal monologue. And so but a lot of those people do you don't have any internal monologue? You are so
Mm-mm.
weird. Just kidding.
I know.
Just kidding. But like a lot of people cannot see an image in their head.
Mhm.
And but then they still create art. And so it's like that's an entirely different process that I have no idea. I'm super, super, super visual.
Like my seeing things in my head, and this is I've learned that like, oh, okay, this is like my again, my brain just is not like other people's always. But
Everyone's
like,
brain's a little different.
right. But like the best I can get, and this is like not something that I'm creating, like, but something like recall, image recall, it's fuzzy. It's like
Huh.
if kind of if you squint your eyes and you're just kind of getting the broad strokes, that's about what I got. And
Really?
so like
Oh, how interesting.
I when if this is I tell my husband this is why I don't notice when like he shaves and stuff. And I'm like, I just look at him and I'm like, you look different, but I can't put my finger on what it is. And he's like, they shave to look like a different person now. But it's because I really think I just have like this
Outlines.
vague idea, like, imagine you can't see and you take your glasses off. It's like,
Yeah, I have terrible vision. So yeah, I get that.
yeah, it's that kind of thing. I'm like,
Wow, how
but I'm
interesting.
also a big picture person. So like, I feel like this goes back to how you look at nature versus
Yeah.
me. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it totally
you're
does.
like, oh, these three different shades of yellow. And I'd be like, it's a yellow flower. I don't know. But it's not because I can't see them. Like if you give me the little color test, I can tell the difference between the colors and stuff. Like I can see the shades, but for the most part, I think my brain just says it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't care. And like my inner thought process, there's no words except when I'm having anxiety issues and then I'm just consistently spelling words because that's one
Oh,
of my weird things I think in letters when I'm
oh,
getting
interesting.
twitchy. But like for the most part, like I don't have like a clear thought process when I read. I don't hear words or anything in my head, which is why I have no idea how to say all sorts of words that I've read. Like
Oh,
I
interesting.
have no concept for how you pronounce things. If I read a fantasy book, I'm like, don't even ask me where it was or what the people's names were, because I
Huh.
didn't figure out how to say them. I just that I
You
just saw the word and kept going.
Oh, that's interesting. So when you read something, do you see the story in your head like a movie? Oh,
No, no.
wow.
And so when people are like, what a great casting decision, I'm like, I'd have to go back and see what color they said their hair was and what they looked like because I don't retain any of it
Oh,
because
wow.
I don't know what they look
Huh.
like.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So like I don't know. That's really
Even when I like reread a book for me, like I've been rereading The Earthsea Cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin. And I think I read the first book for the first time when I was like 9. And it's one of these that just ages so well because like I'll come back to it and I it's like watching the movie again because the imagery is the same. Like I've seen it before. Like I love it. Like it's like rewatching a movie. And yeah, I'm not like I guess I do read the words aloud in my head, but mostly I'm just seeing the story in my head.
Mhm.
And it's the same pictures, in my brain each time I read it. And so it really does feel like I'm rewatching a movie.
That's so cool. And I
I
feel
think
like that
visually.
that explains so much why why you can create the what you want to make in your head. And I'm like, how on earth do you do that? Like,
I started practicing when I was really little. I've always been like that though. Like even when I first started to read, I learned how to read pretty late. I went to a school that didn't teach reading until later, and then I switched schools, and so I ended up learning how to read in like part of first grade. But I figured it out in about a month,
mhm.
and because I mean we read all the time at home, so it's not like it was a foreign concept for me. Um, and yeah, it's like from that time, I I would just read and see pictures always. Like it doesn't matter what I am reading, like that's biology textbook, see all the pictures of where everything's located, and so I can like visually think about like the parts of the cell. Like it's all looks like this, and like I can saying that like I remember what the picture is like.
I'm I'm so I'm so kind of jealous now because I thought it was just like you have a monologue or you don't. But now I know that you have a monologue or you might have a movie.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I have a movie in my brain more than anything else, and it has dialogue. So I guess that's really it more than having a monologue in my head. Like I've got an entire like cinema going on in there.
Mine is like I told a friend today, I was like, it's like I have 8,000 different thoughts going silently at the same exact time. And then every now and then one will like bounce to the forefront. And I'll just like, I'll think about that for a second. And then a new one bounces in.
Oh my
Like,
goodness, that sounds exhausting.
that's
Wow.
I'm just sitting here going, wow, no
That's so
wonder
interesting.
like you have
People
so
like
much
that.
more context for what you're experiencing. And I'm just like, I feel like, okay, I just have blind and deaf thoughts is about
That's
like,
not uncommon though. I think my husband's the same way. Like I think that's what he
okay,
is.
okay, well, I feel better now because I was like, dang,
No,
I
that
didn't,
you're that's definitely like I
okay,
think your way of thinking is normal. I mean, I think it's all normal. I don't think any of it is like right. I mean, as in you're not the absolute only person on the planet like that.
right,
I don't think you're alone. I don't think I'm
okay,
alone either. I think
yeah,
that's why like making art is such a universal and yet personal experience because it's our own way of seeing something. Like
exactly,
yes, you know, a picture of a tree has been drawn before, but not by the way your brain perceives this tree and not in your process of drawing it. And I think it's easy to fall into the trap of like, oh, it's all been drawn before, it's all been done before, it doesn't matter.
yes,
Um, and
absolutely,
I fall into that sometimes, but I think that's helpful that I didn't have the art education with all of the things that have been done before.
yeah,
So I'm like, yay! I'm just like in my happy little brain, like drawing
yeah,
whatever I want. Um, and I don't really worry about originality. I mean, I don't copy, like I'm definitely not
right,
like plagiarizing, but in terms of like no one's ever drawn this before, like,
right.
you know,
You're
I don't
not
worry
like,
about
I'm gonna
that.
blaze my own path and it's gonna,
Right, yeah, because you
yeah,
can't. I mean,
right,
the only way to blaze your own path is to see the world your way and show other people. I think that's the best way to blaze your own path.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, I'm always trying to think about like where, not trying to, my brain thinks about where is my work going? Like, where's my business going? Am I successful? Like, God, I don't know. Am I? I have no idea. I have
Those
no
are
idea if I'm successful.
those are the questions that like, because there's always the like, oh, especially now, like make your smart goals and everything. And I'm
I don't
like,
do any of that.
make
I left
sure
the
that,
corporate world.
yeah, I'm like, make sure your smart goals are things that you can control. Like, what are your revenue goals? Hi, I well and truly do not have control over that. I can do my part by creating things and marketing them, but I can't make people buy them.
Right.
And I can't force the people who want to buy them to have disposable income. Like there's so many variables. So it's always like, no, I'm gonna do my goals based off of how I want to grow or how I want to
Yes, me
change.
too.
Like what are things that I can control? What are outlooks that I can change? Um, and do it that way. And then, subsequently measure my success based off of that. Like,
Yep.
do I feel good when I leave the studio? Do I want to
Right.
go back to the studio?
Yeah. because I have to remind myself, like, I don't have to do this. Like, it's not required.
Hmm.
It's not like, and I'm extremely fortunate. And I know that not everyone has this luxury, but I'm extremely fortunate. I don't have to contribute to my household's income by making art, which again comes back to like, who am I? Like, if I don't contribute, then what am
Right?
I even doing here? You know, to quote Office Space, what would you say you do here? Like, I mean, that's how I feel. Like sometimes, and that's when I start to get into that anxiety spiral of like, do I contribute? What does anybody need me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, yes, yes, like back out of it. But you know, this
Yeah.
it's
That's
hard
the
when the world says if you don't make $300,000 or more a year, you must be worthless. Like that is so not true.
right.
But when the
You
world
think
tells you
about
that,
like when you meet somebody new, you don't start off with like, what are your hobbies?
yeah, what do you do for work?
Yeah, what do you do for work? What do you do? Like,
So boring.
why is that how we're how we're defining people? Like that doesn't say anything other than where you get your paycheck from.
Which says a lot about the society that we're struggling with at this point in time.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's also really hard as an artist to own that
Yes.
and see the value in it because again, going back to our society, our culture, like the value is not recognized unless you're providing entertainment.
And
Um,
being paid the big bucks for it.
right, right. And I'm
But
like,
it's
well,
like,
but I don't, and I feel like there's a difference because on, entertainment, you're literally saying, I'm going to give you something so you don't have to think. And what we are doing is,
sort of the opposite.
yeah,
Please give me money so I cannot think.
well,
Or
there, there's that. I'm
I'm
like,
thinking about like, the movie in my brain.
but it's like, I'm, I would like you to give you something to think about.
Right. Yeah.
I want you to think. I'm asking you to think. And,
That's a hard sell when it feels like things are a little stressful in the
right.
world, to put it mildly. Um, but like I think there is a lot to think about and there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different paths on that. Like I have been thinking a lot about what my goals are as an artist for next year. And as we just discussed, like you can't force somebody to buy your art, but I do think that I can have the confidence to go into shops more. Like I
Yeah.
have my work in three different locations locally right now, which is fantastic, and I'm really excited about it. But that's, I mean, yes, I send a lot of emails, but it's also the places that I go into where it really fits. Like they see the value in my work, and they pay me for it. And yes, I
Right.
give them the wholesale rate, but I make money on my
No, yeah.
stickers.
Yeah. And if you're
So I
not,
think I
then
want
your
to do.
wholesale rate's wrong.
What was that?
I said, and if you're not making money, then your wholesale rate is wrong.
I've messed that up before too, but I think I fixed it going forward because math is not my strong suit. Uh, yeah.
And you learn.
I'm like, oh yeah. Um, but yes, I really want to try and get my work into some more places, and then I really want to try and create some pieces that are kind of sustainability focused, since that's something that's really um, important to me. Living in a place that is so beautiful, and to protect what we can of our environment. Um, I find it very stressful to think about development and habitat loss, and so from a conservation angle, like that's, I'd like to create some pieces. I think that where I would donate a portion of it to a conservation group, but I don't know what that would be yet. I haven't researched it. But I think that would be kind of a goal, and I've got some other long-term projects that I've started already that I'd like to finish. But I think that's kind of a good start for me for the next year. And of course, we always have less time than we feel like to work on things. So I'm like, we'll stop there. Like, and not that I'm gonna not create more sticker work, but I created a lot this year and a lot of it's
There you
selling
go.
really well. So I want to reassess after the holidays and think about what designs maybe I'm going to retire and, what I might create to put in its place. And, and I'm actually starting to sell enough of them, and then coming back to the sales and feeling successful. And not like I'm rolling in the dough, but I've sold enough of my designs. And I'm like, oh, I actually do have a top 3 bestsellers. Like, I didn't expect that for this year. Like, I actually have, I can recommend to shop owners, these are my bestsellers. And
Yeah.
like, that's new. I didn't ever think I would be there. So, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
to
good
have
feeling
enough
too.
to have data. It's like,
Yeah, right,
oh, there are
exactly.
data
Yeah, that's
points.
success. So we have to redefine what success looks like. It's not making 100,000, $400,000 a year. Like, it's things like that. And I struggle with that. I will openly say I struggle with seeing that success as I have enough data to say I have bestsellers, or,
Right.
you know, I think I might do more like this because I like it and people seem to. So okay, so more like
Yeah.
that. Um and a lot of it just comes from putting stuff out there, and it's hard because I think creating art, we're putting ourselves, thinking again about the beginning of our conversation with like the grief piece that I did, putting yourself in a work and then asking someone to buy it just feels so personal.
Right.
It feels like you've cut off your arm and said, "Would you like to own this?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "What will I do with it?" And you're like, "Well, it was useful to me,"
Hmm.
you know?
And you and then like when you are somebody who's like, no, you shouldn't buy things just to buy them, and like anybody who is sustainability focused like you, like
Selling
overconsumption
vinyl
is a
stickers.
problem. Hmm?
Selling vinyl stickers, I mean, the contradictions are endless.
Like, but and it's I know overconsumption's a problem. I don't want you to buy things just to buy them, but also I like this is it's a business and I don't know what else to do here. And I art supplies cost money, and like
Yeah.
there's it's so difficult to balance all that. So it's the like I get queasy when I make a art supply order and I'm throwing away all this plastic packaging.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh,
Yep.
look, this came in plastic, this came in plastic. And then I'm going to make a piece that's like, hey, don't use all this plastic. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are we supposed to do? So
Right.
it's that like knowing that, for one, that there's no right answer. Like,
Yeah.
I get in trouble a lot for saying that there's no right answer because you're supposed to say there's no wrong answer. So people feel better about trying things. But in this one,
I
I
never even
feel like,
thought about that.
oh yeah, I do it to my kids
I mean,
all
I
the
know
time.
the way you say it, but I like that. It feels very accurate.
But I'm like, there is no right answer. Like
It
every
makes me feel
single thing
better.
that we do, there's going to be a problem with it.
Yep.
There's no perfect solution.
Yep.
So I
I
think
think
all
we can. Oh, good.
oh, I was just going to say, I think all you can do is go through and make sure that what you're doing is aligning with your values and getting
Yep.
you to the goals that align with the values you have as best as
Yep.
possible.
Yep. And the truth is that we're all doing a lot better than, we're not multi-billion-dollar corporations polluting everything. So like, not that our impact, good or bad, doesn't matter, but like in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
the Amazons and the Teslas and the all of that, we're not the worst offenders. So I think you're right. We just have to do our best. And you told me when I started doing the mug stuff, drop shipping mugs. I love drop shipping because I sell mugs and shirts too. So there's that. Um, I love drop shipping because it's done on demand. It's more environmentally friendly,
Yeah.
and I don't have to keep it all in my house because this is my studio. It's my home. Um, and But on the other side, it's like, well, how do I feel about the packaging? I have mugs that come in styrofoam. And I really hate that because styrofoam takes forever to break down. And I would, if it ever can, like, I mean, really, I would love for it to be shipped in like those little, like, recyclable triangle things or something. Like,
Uh-huh.
but it's not. And I don't have any control over that. I did send them an angry email, the printing company. I'm sure that went straight to spam, but I tried.
You did what you could. Yeah.
But then I think about, well, can I offset it somewhere? So I think what I might try and do personally is to do like for next year, do a um food scrap like pickup service. There's some locally here. And so, maybe I can try and offset some of my contributions. We don't waste a lot of food, but you have carrot tops or carrot peels or,
Okay.
potato skins, and it goes into the trash or goes into the wastewater system. And like neither one of those is a particularly good option. But I think I might, and I'll look into it further, but I think I might hire this company. They come every other week and they pick up, you scrape your plate into their bin and like they come pick it up and
Yeah.
compost it and it goes back to the local community. And I love that. So maybe we can, if we try and offset what we can, maybe we can find a way forward.
That is, I love that idea because like I've always struggled with like pay your $2 for carbon offset for your shipping or whatever. And I'm like that always bothers me because I'm like, it's
Yeah,
really not our, like you're pawning it off on us. Just like
right.
it's like
Just do the right thing in the first place.
yeah, I'm like, it's like the corporations who are like, you want to donate to Toys for Tots? No, because I'm giving you money and then you're getting the tax write-up. Like this is not honest.
Right.
This is the problem. Um, so like, but I love the idea of, I'm doing what I can and what I can't control, I'm gonna do something to try to offset that. And
Yeah.
like that's
Otherwise, my anxiety eats me up about the state of the world. And the thing is that we're not useful to ourselves or our communities if we're just consumed by anxiety. And I
right.
struggle with that too. Like I said, therapy for anxiety here, it works. I like it, but I need to continue going. And and so that was also something that I brought up in one of my sessions, and my therapist is like, yeah, like lean into that, like offset what you can, do the compost thing. Like I I've decided this fall, like my husband decided that we basically always round up for the donate whatever 40 cents to education or food, feeding hunger, feeding,
Mhm.
was it stopping hunger? I forget, the food bank one or whatever at the
Yeah.
grocery store. Um, it makes our bills easier because they're all round numbers. So you round up your dollar and like now your books are easier because you don't have like weird cents and stuff from your grocery bill. So
Yeah.
it's like if you think about it personally, which I don't know, I guess there's probably mixed feelings about thinking about it like that, like my personal gain. But then you remember to do it. If nothing else,
Yeah.
you remember to do it. There's no way to be perfect. We can't be perfect. We just
Right.
have to do our best.
And
So,
there's
trying to offset. I guess that's where
yeah,
I'm leaning for next
there
year too.
there's also no like there's no shame in doing something good and getting something positive out of it.
Right.
It's
Right.
okay. Like because there was some show, I don't remember what it was, but they were like there's no truly selfless act. Because
Yes. Yes.
even if you're like making a sacrifice or something, you still feel good about
There's a
it.
no stupid questions episode on that. Maybe that's one you're thinking of, but if
Mhm.
not, then that's a good one. That's one of my favorites to listen to while I do art.
I
While I'm in
love.
flow, is no stupid
I mean,
questions.
if that's the name of it, then I'm sold because that is my.
Oh, I think you'd like it.
Okay,
It's an interview show. It's actually a format a lot like this.
I love
So it's
that.
it's kind of cool.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look at that because yeah, like I'm a firm believer. I'm like just go explore. There's like it, I feel like especially as a mom and somebody who did not do this naturally. Like I am reteaching myself. Like I feel like it's so important to have safe places to fail
Hmm.
where
Like
you
Creative
can
Nexus.
yeah, like there's no I mean that was the whole idea behind that the residency. Like
Yeah.
this is just do it. This is there's if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. My thing did not work the way I thought it was going to, and I had to like step back. And that was while frustrating because my goodness, did I have to learn a lot of stuff. There was no negative repercussion for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I've let somebody down. There was an expectation. The
You're out
expectation,
a bunch of money or whatever. Like, no, it's like it doesn't matter.
right. And like I feel like that's something that everybody needs, no
Yes.
matter what you
Yes.
do.
it's like a sandbox environment. So like if you're doing coding, you have your sandbox where you can
Yeah,
mess around, you can bring in a copy of whatever, and like if it all explodes, you didn't explode your entire company's server or whatever, you know?
exactly.
Like this, I feel like Creative Nexus is our creative sandbox.
That makes me so happy.
It makes me happy too. Like this is something that's worth investing in for me. I gain so much out of this. I love it. You know, I get to do stuff like this, which is cool. But I get to do things like the virtual residency. I would never have created that piece without it. I would never have done that. I would never have taken that time to do something silly, even though most of my work is silly. But like, you
Yeah,
know, I
and
wouldn't have done
scary.
that. And I'm going to do it again, and I'm excited.
And we are doing the next one in February.
And I'm very excited about that too. It'll be good not to have it over the summer. I think. I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah, we've learned that that's just us who summer is like really chill. Like, oh, nobody else has that? Okay. We'll, we'll switch it around. But, it's what happens when you're a college professor and spouse. Like, the summer is very chill and relaxed. What are you talking about? What are you doing?
Right?
But yeah, like I don't know. I think really most people don't feel safe enough in general.
Yep. I
Safe to
agree.
fail, safe to explore.
Saving their communities, unfortunately, just in general, like that's scary.
Yeah,
People
like
should feel safe in their homes and in their communities and at their schools and in their grocery stores and all of that. Like that should be safe.
exactly.
We just have to do our part as best we can.
Yeah.
And we have
Yeah.
to let go of the rest of it because otherwise we just implode and then we don't help anybody.
Exactly, because we're all going to just collapse under the strain of anxiety. Like
Yep.
we're not meant to handle that.
Large fly in here. Sorry. It's like, hello?
Came to help. Like,
Apparently.
I want to do this. I want to do this. But yeah, like I think that's just so important to be able to just have that. And then at that point, like we're going through this with my son, like you need to be safe to explore. You need to when you feel safe, you thrive.
Yeah.
And that's safety on all those levels of needs. I can't remember what
Yes, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
yeah, that
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
But I'm like, when you feel safe and secure in all of those areas, like think about what we can do.
Yep.
Like how amazing that Star Trek universe will be.
Yeah.
Because like that's what's so great about the Star Trek world. I don't know if you like Star Trek,
I
but
do love that. Yep.
okay, good. Good job. Good job. But like that's what's so beautiful is
Yep.
everybody their needs are met.
Right.
So now we can just do cool shit. Like
Right? Yes. Well,
just
and that's
be
where I feel so lucky that I get to make art during my child's naps. I get to be home with her. I mean, I'm very busy. I do things the
oh
rest of
yeah,
the day. Um, and then I get to take that time to create. And sometimes I do feel guilty about it, but I try not to.
yeah,
It's always a work in progress. Like this is time that's worth having,
actually. Yeah,
and I am
because
contributing to the world by doing it.
exactly, you're contributing to the world, you are taking care of yourself. It's important. Like
Yep.
this is the only context when people say like, "Oh, my child is my why." I'm like, if you mean that it's because you taking care of yourself makes you a better person and that also has a benefit on your child, then okay. But otherwise, you've missed it. You
Yeah.
have to be your own why. Like
Yes.
you
And
have to
then
do
they grow up and you don't have anything. And
right.
I mean, it's hard enough to watch her grow up. I mean, she's 2.5, has opinions about absolutely everything, which is actually very useful sometimes where I'm like, do you want to wear this or this? This one, great. Fabulous. I don't have to decide that for you. You can take
That's
control of
awesome.
that. Um, And but she gets to watch me be creative, and she loves art, and I think that's fantastic. And so she's drawing all this stuff, and I'm always like, yeah, that looks great, I love it, tell me what's going on. And then her little
Yes.
imagination goes, and I'm just like trying to feed that little soul.
I love it. I love it. And
It's
it's
very
the
fun.
best because you just sit there going, how did you come up with this? Like, and I think it reminds you how to tear down those preconceived notions, what society has told us, like,
Yeah,
this is what makes sense, or this is what we should do. This
these are
is
the
what it
colors you should
should look
use, they're
like.
complementary or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like to be able to just be like, because I felt like it,
Hmm.
because it sounded cool. And I'm
Hmm.
like, yes.
That's honestly what drives a lot of my work. As I think about something, and I'm like, I have to draw that because I've seen the whole picture, like the cats that are and the alien cats in the spaceship that are pulling everything up.
Yep.
Like that's what a cat would do. If you give them a spaceship, they're gonna steal things.
Yeah,
That's a cat.
for sure. For sure. And I love it. Like that is, and there's no like, it's not logic defying, but it's also not defined by logic.
Right.
Like, it's clearly defined by whimsy,
Yes.
which is you. And that's what I love. Like, are you ever going to encounter a hot dog with eyeballs that's asking if he's a sandwich?
I
No.
might. You never know.
Lord, I hope not, because I can't handle that. If
If I
that
encounter it, I will throw it away. It's been in the fridge too long.
exactly. I'm like, if we get to that point, I can't do this anymore. Just this is too much. But like that to me is the beauty, like just the
Yeah.
being able to just explore things. Like, what
Yeah.
if?
And that's exactly what my brain will say in those words. Well, what if this? And I'm like, well, now I have to see what happens if I draw that because that's a good question. What
Yes,
if the hot dog had an existential crisis? Well, if the hot dog does, the talker probably does too.
exactly. Like, what if and why not? Those are like, to me, those are the key questions.
Why should the
In
buffalo be a normal color? The buffalo could be blue.
right, right. I
Why
don't know
not?
why buffalo's blue. Well, why wouldn't it be?
Just
Blue
because
is
you've
a
never seen
nice
one doesn't mean it's
color.
not there.
I'm like, why would you make it brown? Like, that's boring. So, I mean, for me, I mean, you do you, but like,
Right.
why would I not? Because I have more blue colored pencils than anything else. Obviously, because I didn't know what colors they were, so I ordered all of them. Like, there's some different things. Like, but yeah, I think that's the key, and I think that that's so much how kids think.
Yes. Yep. I think that's true. And I
And
just want to kind of encourage that with her, like, explore all of that.
Mhm. And if you don't like it, you know what we do?
Oh, well,
Yeah. You,
it's
you know,
fine.
like you either figure out a way to incorporate it, and that's well, what if it wasn't a mistake? What if
Right.
it was, what if that was on purpose? What would you do? Or what if you had to include that? What would you do? Or you just try again. Like
Yeah. Or
there's
you take a pair of scissors to your piece, like I did with the grasses, where I realized it needed some curves at the top, and so I was like, I'm just gonna cut it up. It's already
yeah,
collage.
yeah.
Why not? See?
Well, one of my big murmuration pieces, brains, it had big buckling, and I was like, I can't get it to lay flat, so it's gonna mess up under the mat. So I cut up underneath it and I pulled it over, and then I put the next layer on top, and I was like, nobody will know. It's not like
Right?
that's it's
Because no
not
one knows what it's supposed to be. Like no one knows what was in your head. If you do something that didn't turn out the way you expected, no one knew what was supposed to happen. It doesn't matter.
exactly,
You
exactly. And I'm like, that was my
can always
favorite
try
thing.
again.
Well, when I've asked Kat before, like, oh, I made this mistake, like, what do I do? How do I fix it? And she's like,
Mhm.
what if it wasn't a mistake? What if it was
Right.
a feature, not a bug?
Yeah.
And like that has changed everything. Just being able to go, there are no mistakes, with the exception of the one thing that when I was sealing it, I managed to smear my watercolor. I was like, I don't really think I can trick that into not being a mistake.
Oh,
That was a,
but even that happens. We're all
yeah.
human.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, I just looked at it and I was like, I know why that happened. I know exactly. I rushed, and, that's why we don't do that. But yeah, like, just being able to say, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Am I still mad at that? And I did it like 3 months ago? Yes. But it's fine. It's not the end of the
It's
world.
fine.
It'd be fine.
It's
Everything's
just fine.
fine. Can't you tell? It's fine. But it will be fine. Like, I did not, like, nobody's leg fell off because I did that.
Right.
Like, I just have to do the background again and hopefully
It's
glue the
fine.
thing to a different background, and it'll be fine. Everything's fine. I do definitely, you can tell I still have some, like, out of myself, but
Well, I mean, it does happen. Like we all make mistakes.
yeah. And all you can do is, because you can't control how you feel, you can just remind yourself it's fine. Everything's fine. It'll be fine.
And do what you can to fix and or
Yeah.
do again or repair or incorporate and then just try and move past it. But that's always a challenge too.
Especially like, it was, those mycorrhizal pieces where I did like a crap ton of them. And it's the big tree that goes in the middle. And
Yeah.
it was the very last one that I was sealing. And I was like,
No.
I was so close to being done. That was the issue. Like, had it been the
Yeah.
first one, I would have probably been like, oh, look, I learned something. But it was the
There's
last one.
something about that too in the process of being like, I'm just ready to finish and move on and like be
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm done doing this. I don't want to do it anymore.
right. Yeah. That last little bit you have to push through. I mean, I don't do a whole lot of larger pieces, but usually for like longer time frame pieces, I mean,
Mhm.
by the end I'm like, I'm so over this. I'm so done. But that's why I don't struggle with like calling a piece finished. Because I'm like, I know what I want it to be like. And when it reaches that, I'm like, okay, done.
Mine, usually things are finished when I've lost interest. And that's when I'm like, it's done. It's done because I say it's done. I mean, this is coming from somebody who, when I crochet or when I sew, the tails and threads and stuff, good luck getting me to weave those in, or, knot them off. Like, there's no, it's just gonna look like that. If you want that finished, you're gonna
At
have
the
to,
end of
like, I've lost interest. This became boring. I don't want to do it anymore. Like, that's
right? Well, I'm
um,
gonna have to head out here soon.
absolutely. But thank you so much. So much. This was
You for having me. I love stuff like this. You know, I love being able to talk about process and encouraging people. Hopefully people enjoy it and keep making their own pieces, whatever that looks like for them too.
absolutely, make their own mistakes and love it.
Yes.
But I
Join
will.
Creative Nexus.
Yes, yes. So everybody, you're all welcome. We are a pay what you can membership, and the pay, the rate, whatever, the membership starts at 0. So it's, if it's free if you don't have disposable income, or if you want to come and try it out and see what it's like before you make a financial investment. Um, and if you have the disposable income and would like to support us, that just means more people can do it without paying. It's a pay it forward type thing. I'm so good at talking about this. So I will include links in the description to Devon's website and her social media, so you can check her out and follow her and love all her cool, whimsical stuff. And I will also include information about Creative Nexus if you would like to learn more. And yes, thank you so much, Devon.
Thank
This has been
you.
so much fun.
Yay. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Many, many more times to come, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful.
Okay. Have a great day, and thank you,
You
everybody.
too. Bye.
Bye.